Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Rangers Journal podcast, brought to you in association with Manon and Inverclyde. My guests are all backstage just now because I'm putting a wee shout out to Mr. Ewan Cameron. Mr. Ewan Cameron says at the weekend that that's not my heart ruling my head, that's my head telling the heart. And then he says, if we win today, we are in the title race. So, Mr. Ewan Cameron, I formally invite you onto the Rangers Journal podcast to come on and have a wee laugh about your comments in the match on Saturday. Thanks, everybody. Anyway, welcome, gents. Ross, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, Scotty. I'm good. Fight and talk from you to kick things off. Love to see it.
He's a good laugh. He'll take it in the right spirit.
I'm sure he will. But yeah, all good, mate. How are you keeping?
Aye, no bad at all. No bad at all. Good, Tomo, first ever podcast. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for having me, Scotty. Happy to be here. Yeah, good evening.
Good stuff. Billy, nice to see you again, mate. How you doing?
You too, mate. I'm not feeling the best. What are you talking about? I'm feeling amazing. This is the best time I've had in ages.
Right, so we'll get into it. We'll get straight into it. We'll speak about the lineup first. And we lined up with Butland in goal, James Tavernier, Connor Goldson, John Souttar, Ridvan Yilmaz. Then we had a midfield combination of Mohamed Diamande, John Lundstram, and Tom Lawrence. On the wings, if you want to say it was a wing, you'd do John Sterling and Oscar Cortez, followed by Cyriel Dessers up front. Ross, I'll come to you first, mate. What stands out to you about that
lineup? Probably the shortest player on the pitch, I'd say, Ridvan Yilmaz. We've been crying out for it on the last few pods, and I think I called it out on the last one, said Cortez plays far better with Yilmaz than he does with Barisic, because Barisic tends to turn inside, Barisic tends to turn back. He's a lot more negative with his passing. I was listening to a pod earlier on, actually, and it was really interesting about saying how the kind of winger now, inverted winger, has got the option of going down the line, backwards, or cutting inside and making that inverted run. And I think that's where Yilmaz really sets himself apart. So I was delighted to see him in the starting lineup for sure. And, well, I'm sure we'll come on to him, but he had an absolutely sensational game. For me, his best in a Rangers shirt by far.
Aye, definitely, mate. Tomo, were you surprised at the centre-half pairing and, most importantly, the midfield combo we saw?
No, I think Goldson's always going to play, and I think Souttar, as I've said to you boys, he's been coming onto a game. He's getting a good run of games, and that's what Souttar needs. You know, no injuries, and he's getting a bit of a run of form. And then in midfield, as I say, I think that sort of picked itself with the way Diamande played last week and the way Lundstram's been playing. I couldn't see maybe Sterling coming in there possibly to give a bit more athleticism, a bit more pace and power, but he was out on the right and done fantastic out there. So I don't think there's any huge surprises there, to be honest. Centre midfield or centre back.
Aye. Tend to agree with that, mate. Billy, me and you were on Wednesday night at the match reaction pod.
Saturday night,
aye, my apologies. My days are all mixed up. You'd think I've been on a night shift. So, what was your thoughts on Cortez and Sterling starting on the wings?
I'm happy with that. I don't want to bury the lead, but I think that's what I've got for my predicted team in the next game against Kilmarnock. I've made a few points on Barisic not being my favourite player, and I would be happy for him to play second fiddle at the moment. I think Yilmaz offers us far more. He's such a good player, and I'm glad we're getting to see it now, because you've seen glimpses of it, and he's stop-start with his injuries or whatever, but now he's getting a run in the team, and I would keep him there. I don't think we need to really be swapping out him at all. And Cortez is doing well. Looking back on the game, I think at the reaction pod, I didn't think he'd done that much other than the goal, but it certainly wasn't. It's not as simple as that, actually. They're working really well together on that wing.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, Ross, I'll come back to you. This is Rangers' average player positions from, I think it was the first half hour, where when Gary Mulroney put it in, so we need to credit him for the work, obviously. Is there anything in particular that tells you about our first half performance?
Yeah, look, I think this is really different to the one that we saw in the previous game when I think it was Silva who'd started initially up top against St Johnstone away. So clearly you can see there's absolutely loads of width there. I mean, it tells a story that the game was mainly played in the final third, the midfield and final third. So clearly that's where we wanted to be. And I think the way that we got off in the scoring within the first 5 minutes really teed up the rest of that half. I think we'll all probably agree that that's one of the best halves of football we've seen and just play in a hell of a long time. And from those positions, you can see there that we seem to be comfortable at the back. Whilst it doesn't probably paint the picture of Ridvan getting up as much, you can see that Tavernier certainly has been bombing down that wing and provided good support with Dessers leaning in on that right-hand side. Yeah, look, it was a really impressive first half. I think that's, for me anyway, the best I've seen us play all season. Completely relentless. The game was done by, 25, 30 minutes in. It was a real joy to watch.
Aye, definitely. I thought that was probably the best half of football I've seen for Rangers all season. In fact, the full 90 minutes was amazing, but the first half, we just came in, completely blew them out of the water. Tomo, when we looked at the average player positions against St Johnstone, it looked a wee bit more narrow. Scott Wright tucking in, James Tavernier was kind of high up on the right-hand side. What's your take on it, first of all, kind of overall, as what do you see when you look at it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say starting defensively, I think the way Goldson and Suter, Goldson's dropping a little bit further back. We've been caught out a few times this season with that ball over the top where both of them are really square. So seeing sort of Suter, a little bit further forward with Goldson covering's interesting. Cortez, as I've said to you boys, he looks like he's wanting to get forward and get involved in the attacks. And I think he will contribute a number of goals. But the midfield, I'd say the midfield four, and you can include Cortez in this as well, was really fluid moving between them. I know Sterling was out on the right, but at times Diomande was out there. Sterling pushed inside. The constant was mainly like Lundstram sort of sitting in the middle. But I think it shows a good sort of fluidity between the players and what we're doing. They're all comfortable covering each other's positions.
So, Tomo, just on that, there was a couple of times in that first half when I saw Diomande going beyond Lawrence into almost that 10 position and Lawrence dropping back slightly. Do you think that's something that they've probably worked on in terms of, you go, I stay, you go type thing? Whereas Lundstram remains that kind of firm rock in there and those two alternate who's supporting Dessers with the press. Yeah,
I think don't disagree with you there, Ross. It's and as I say, you can add Sterling into that as well. So it was very noticeable that front four was just interchanging quite a lot. If Sterling comes forward and he's losing the ball for whatever, Diomande would be filling in for him. But as we've seen last couple of games, Diomande can strike the ball. And Lawrence is comfortable sitting a little bit deeper as well. So it's I totally agree with what you're saying. It's good to have the two of them there.
Yeah, for sure.
Billy, I'll come into you. I kind of want to highlight Dujon Sterling a wee minute. When he's set up, I don't believe he was set out to play as a kind of right winger on Saturday. I believe he was kind of told to occupy an area of the pitch, especially on transition when we're in attack and defending. He's not an out-and-out right winger. He's an athletic footballer that can cover a lot of grass. Would you agree on that?
I definitely agree with that. I mean, athleticism is probably one of his best attributes. It allows him to play all these different positions. I think it's telling, though, when you see Sterling and Diomande's positions being so close together on that heat map, that they are really doing a similar job when, as you were saying, Ross, one can break forward, one can hold. In Lundstram position, that's where you'd expect him to be. I think it's also telling just as a whole that that's 8 players average position in the Hearts half. And if you look at the pitch, really, that's all 10 of our outfield players in the not in our back third. It shows you how dominant we were and how attacking we were, which, I mean, we've really been, maybe not between us, we've heard it several times about not starting the game fast, but seeing that kind of that first half hour with all the players in very attacking and forward-looking positions. And it's easy to say, why can't you just go out on the attack? Well, we've heard players saying it's not just as simple as that, but I think Clement has done something to make us play a lot more on the front foot, putting them on the back foot from the very beginning. But going back to Sterling, he's shown how versatile he is, and I think wherever he plays, really, he's not given a bad account of himself. Bar maybe one game did he play out on the left, and I don't think people are too happy with it. But it was an odd position for him. But no, I'm really happy with how he's playing, and he's not really let us down.
Is anybody? I'm just going to open this up. Everybody, has anybody get any comments on Hearts' average possessions in the first half?
Scotty, I was just going to ask you there, bud. We're playing Sterling out on the right. Feels like it's quite a slightly more cautious approach, given that he's got his defensive attributes as well to him, whereas McCausland, we know, is a lot more attacking minded. Do you think he's looking at that with a view to potentially the Benfica game coming up, to potentially the old firm at Ibrox, to get him bedded in and or test out his kind of abilities on the right? Because we know he's defensively strong. Can he also offer that, attacking threat as well, and then really firm up and as Tomo said earlier, move into that midfield if needed, if we're a bit more backs to the wall, and really kind of override that midfield with the extra man? Do you think that's why he's trying to do that?
I would tend to agree with that. I think one of the biggest reason he's doing it is so he can get Tavernier kind of high and wide. If you look at Tavernier there on a average possession chart compared to where it was against St Johnstone, it was like further back, like the halfway line. So it's almost as if James Tavernier was pinned back. Whereas if he's got a right back playing in front of him, I don't know if you remember when Walter was in charge the second time, Rooney used to quite a lot play Hutton and Whittaker together down the right hand side, and it was just a kind of rotational switch up the day, because none of them were out and out wingers, but they were good at getting beyond and delivering a cross and had an eye for goal and all the rest of it. So I think what he's doing with Sterling is just trying to get him in a team ultimately. But there's, I would definitely say, in terms of Sterling's athleticism and what he brings, I mean, he's not just athletic, he's a good footballer into the bargain as well. I think he's going to be key in keeping Angel Di Maria quiet when it comes to Benfica. What do you think of that?
Yeah, look, I think that's completely fair. I've mentioned it a few times now. I think some of the bigger games that we played under Gerrard, when we knew that we'd probably see less of the ball, have to be really compact at times. He would play Joe Aribo out on the right because we knew that Joe could hold onto the ball. He had the athleticism to move forward if he needed to. A bit of quality out there to hold up play, but also he had the defensive ability to sort of pull in and make it a more robust midfield. So just to answer your question on Hearts there, you can see, I mean, from it's very much a defensive setup they've got there. I mean, there was probably only 5, maybe 10 minutes where Hearts kind of were dictating play slightly, but, they didn't really touch the ball. I mean, number 77 there's basically fucking invisible, isn't he? I don't think he touched the ball. Right. So, yeah, look, it was very much a compact, robust performance from them. And I think we were dictating play at will. We should have really scored maybe a couple more. It could have been more, like a 4-5-0 at half time if Dessers had converted those, and there was another couple of good strikes that we had from distance as well. But yeah, look, it was a really great first half performance. It allowed Clement to tinker in the second half. And there was actually just one comment that I saw popped up from Andy Campbell. If only we could join Ridvan's game with Borna's crossing, we'd have some player. And I think there's probably some truth in that, but I think it's also worth calling out that some of the deliveries that Ridvan put in that first half, there was one, I think he sort of cut through it and sort of stunned it across the face of the goal, and it was an absolute corking ball in. So probably something he's working on. But yeah, I'd tend to agree, if we could get that level of delivery and consistent delivery that Borna has been providing over the past few years, then I think we could be onto a really, really big asset within our club.
I would agree with that. To me, it looks, when I'm looking at the average possession stats at Hearts, it's coming across as that Rangers have played that well that Hearts have had to take them positions. Right. I don't know if you would agree with that or not, but
sorry, mate, definitely.
I don't know what's going on with my Wi-Fi. So it's, to me, looking at the average kind of player positions with Hearts there, I think it's more a credit to Rangers that Hearts are pinned back like that, because Hearts are a good side going forward. I mean, they're third best in the league. Billy, what would your thoughts be on that?
I wanted to come back to on Ross's point about Sterling, because I think that's a really good point. What you've noticed, I hadn't noticed that. I'm thinking he's coming in to provide some steel really in the forward right side. But you're right that going forward, and I guess especially in the Old Firm games or the games against European teams, him being able to come back in and give us an extra strong athletic player in the middle. I just wouldn't put it past Clermont to be thinking ahead like that. So I think it's really good you pointed that out.
And what's your take on, I guess, Hearts' setup here? Clearly, you can see where the centre-back is. They're very much been pinned back, which probably illustrates the sort of story and the layout of the first half anyway. Would you say that's the best half that we've had, Billy? Would you say that's the most progressive and dynamic we've looked?
As a half, yeah, I think it's one of the best. I just think we were in control for that whole game. It's been my favourite game of the season so far. Just with how dominant we never were in any trouble. And I don't know if Scott, if you've got a second half image. If you don't, it's no worries. But I wouldn't have thought it would look much different, other than maybe the last 10 minutes. They really came out and they had a couple of chances. But other than that, we pinned them back the whole game. I wouldn't be surprised if the whole match average positions look very similar.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right, I wouldn't be surprised at that, to be honest with you. So we'll quickly touch on the goals. First goal, Mohamed Diamande. Last week he rolled it with his left, hit it with his right. This week it was his right onto his left. Tomo, I'll come to you on the first goal. Cortez kind of carried the ball a wee bit before he assisted Diamande for a goal. But what was your thoughts on it?
Yeah, really good goal. I was sat pretty much right behind it, and as soon as it left his foot, you knew it was in. But it was just that ability to have a strike from the edge of the box. We've been missing that for, I'd say, a good number of years. Apart from Lundstram and obviously Tavernier, we don't seem to shoot from distance. And then the last couple of months, I would say, players have started shooting from outside the box, and we're getting our rewards for it. But Cortez has done well. We've started off quickly, like we need to, and yeah, from then on, it's a bit much to say maybe after 2 minutes, but you pretty much see the game was done. You know, that 1-0, the way we've been defending, our defensive record, you just think we're not going to concede any more here, and it's like, can we get a second, third, fourth? But yeah, it was a lovely finish from Diamande. He seems to be very two-footed.
Can I come in, Tom? You said you were sitting behind it. Did you notice? I think as Lawrence kind of jumps out the way, which would probably put the goalkeeper off as well. Did you notice that at the time? I just seen it in a replay there.
Yeah, Lawrence, he jumped out of the way. I mean, there's no question of him being offside or anything like that, you know. But yeah. Keeper maybe a little bit unsighted, but as I say, as soon as it's left his foot, it's you could see it was going in.
Chat's on fire tonight, lads. Tell you what, some banter flying about around here.
Tell us about it. Curry for stands Ibrox and getting some of his lovely partner.
Love to see it.
The second goal, Ross, I'll come to you on that one.
Yeah,
I thought Cortez's strike was perfect, but I thought the pass was better than the finish.
Oh,
what do you think about that?
Oh, struggling to agree with that one, Scotty. You know, the lad, I almost think it's one of those where he's got so much time that it would be so easy to fluff, because he could have taken another touch and put it onto his left foot, which kind of I felt like he was maybe going to do. You know, the game really opened up. The defenders got sucked towards the ball. I think Dessers maybe thought it was a pass for him and sort of stopped his run slightly, but clearly Lawrence had picked it out really beautifully and weighted it, you know, absolutely on a cushion for him. But yeah, it would have been easy for him to have taken a touch, let Zander Clark set himself and get in a position where he could have gotten low. But Cortez clearly full of confidence. I think Clermont is just giving the lad everything he needs in terms of game time, in terms of the right players around him to make him, you know, really sing. And look, he caught it absolutely sweet as anything. And as I say, Zander Clark was a bit wrong-footed, having come across the goal to then go back. And it nestled perfectly in the corner. I think you'll struggle to see a better finish, really, I think, this weekend in football across Britain, because the way he just cushions it and nestles it in, he doesn't hit it like you'd expect a sort of 20, 21-year-old to sort of maybe laces or thrash at it. He cushions it and just allows the weight of the ball and the speed of the ball to nestle in the bottom corner. I thought it was an absolutely superb finish. Not taking it away from Lawrence. I think it was a great, unselfish bit of play. And I think testament to Lawrence, he had an absolutely brilliant game and was probably quite unlucky to come off when he did. You could see it sort of maybe got to him a little bit. Maybe we'll touch on that. But another really strong performance from him. I think he's one of those players as well that, that's 3 or 4 games now in a row, which I know it sounds a bit daft, but actually keeping him fit and getting him playing 3-4 games, it's going under the radar. No injuries, touch wood so far. Nothing there. And we was maybe getting 1-2 games prior to this, and there was another little knock or a niggle here or just a tight muscle. But no, I think, we've just got to take a hat off to Kilmarnock for the way he's introducing them. And it was really interesting. I was listening on a pod earlier and they were saying how, I think the lad was at the game when Lawrence did come off. They stood and talked for sort of 2-3 minutes, and Kilmarnock explained to him exactly what the reason why he was taken off and for what purpose it served to the wider team. So look, going back to your question, fantastic goal for me. I think it was a superb strike. I think you're on mute there, Scotty.
Did anybody realise if Dessers dummied it or not? Just to answer Curry.
You know what? I'm going to give Big Cyriel the benefit of a doubt here and say, yeah, it was a hell of a dummy.
Fair enough. I think we need to get a shout out to Sterling as well for winning the ball for Tom Lawrence. That's how Sterling's contributing for Rangers going forward, is winning the ball high up, pressing. Obviously, one is a penalty at St Johnstone, and he's contributed again. Tom, I'll come on to you for a third goal. I thought John's suit-up was one of his best matches in the Rangers jersey yesterday. The pass was absolutely sick. It was something. He looks as if he's really, really settled in that left side of the fence now, doesn't he?
He does, and that's something he brings us. We've had it for years with Goldson, who's able to bring it and play those cross-field passes. Excuse me. And we've now got it with Suter. He's comfortable on the ball, coming out and playing it. The pass was, as I say, fantastic. And I think that's where we're beginning to see the best of Dessers now. Earlier in the season, that ball probably comes a split second late and he's offside. Whereas now, I think the players are getting in tune with him. He's timing his runs right and the right balls are coming. I saw the highlights. I didn't realise how tight it actually was. He looked a lot further onside. But even the finish itself, that's not an easy finish. It's very easy to just pass that into the keeper's hands or, scuff it wide. But he's just passed into the corner, almost nonchalant, like he's won against Hibs. But
I don't know if you've seen a very similar goal by Jelavic that was going down the rounds on the interweb. And how much do we revere Jelavic as a finisher? So I think you have to give Dessers credit. He's playing. There was some other comments I was reading as well that he's now getting this relationship with Tavernier, and they're working together better as well. I mean, there was a goal last week against Ross County, wasn't it, from Tav over? I think his finishing's come on. I think it's just confidence with him. I love that finish at the weekend, that first goal.
I mean, we'll touch on his second goal in a little bit, obviously, but both of the finishes were brilliant for different reasons. And his first goal, as I say, the run was brilliant. The pass from Suter to pick him out, and then just the finish itself gives the keeper no chance. And let's say it kills the game at half time, and we can just, the team can just sort of relax. We've got more tests coming up.
I'm going to come in on the fourth goal. Now, Cyriel Dessers, I've probably been his biggest critics. As you know, I'm on the Rangers assessment, Stans Ibrox, Gallant Few, and I've barely had a good word to say about the guy since he signed, because I think overall for the fee and the outlay, he's been very underwhelming. But he done something on Saturday that I've been wanting to see all season. There was a kind of scramble in the mid-lay box, the ball falls to him, and he just leathers it into everything. Nice and simple. Didn't try and put anybody in the backside. He didn't try any flicks or tricks. Just finished the chance. And it's probably my favourite Cyriel Dessers goal I think it's better than the Betis goal purely because of how effective it was, to be brutally honest with you. He didn't try anything fancy. He just finished it. And that's how he's going to change my opinion on him, is by being more clinical in front of goal. Billy, what's your thoughts?
Well, we talked about it after the game, and I could see even what you were saying, how much you liked that goal. I can't go that far with you, I'm afraid. I feel a wee bit disappointed he didn't do better with the initial ball and get a shot away there. I guess he's crowded out, but I mean, as I was saying the other day, the roof of the net finish looks fantastic and well played for him, actually keep him going and not just giving up, because he could have easily just thrown his hands up and said, it's away, but he battles through and gets that shot. But I'm afraid I'm more of a fan of his first goal that day, but it still looked good.
You don't see it enough on him. We'll quickly get in a panel on Dessers, because I think he's a wee bit of an enigma. He definitely divides opinion. Ross, what's your overall thoughts on him? Are you happy with him? Come the end of the season, do you try and sell him on, or do you keep him?
Well, I'll answer your first question. I'm happy with him. Yeah, I think his return, yes, I'm very happy. 16 goals for the season. I think we would have certainly taken that given his first few performances. I think getting him up to speed with the expectation here and playing the way Clement wants him to play is one thing. And I think, you do have to give players time. And I think it probably taught a lot of us that actually giving players time to come to terms with their environment, with the players around them, with the teams you're playing, with the pitches, with the climate, all of that needs to take time, and in this day and age in football, you just don't really get it. So it's been a necessity that we've had to play him, but actually it's worked out beneficial to the team. And I think not just that, the team have also grown used to the way he likes to play. So we've mentioned it a few times that if he has too much time, a la through on goal against Celtic, and there was one the other day as well against St Johnstone, or a couple the other day, then he probably isn't. That's not his best area of the game. He's not a player who's necessarily composed and elegant in front of goal and whatnot. He's more of an instinctive striker, and I think if Clement can get that into him and make sure that we're getting the right deliveries to make it a header or a nice cushion volley as the weekend showed. I think there's a real player in there. And then on your second point of, do I think we'll sell him in the summer? I genuinely don't think we will. I think we'll get another striker in when Roof goes, because I think that's probably an inevitability. But I don't think Dessers will be. I think he'll still be an option. I think getting a season under his belt, hopefully a winner's title with him, and 20 odd goals, I think it would be wrong to sell him. And then my favourite goal of his is actually his first goal, which was, I think the keeper parried out and it banged off his chest and went in, because it was just the most Cyriel Dessers thing.
Was it Survey?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was truly, truly awful goal. But I loved it because it just sort of deflected it off him, banged off his chest. It'd be good to see in the comments, guys, if you're listening in, what you think your favourite goal was. I think there'll be a lot of votes for Betis, but if there's any in there that we've missed out on, then do stick them in the comments.
For somebody that's a Lawrence Shankland fan, you're not meant to stitch me up like that, Ross. Right.
I think Shankland's a good player. I do. I can't help that. I think his ship sailed with Rangers now, so we've got Cyriel and we're happy with it.
Aye, definitely. Do any of you boys want to come in on any of Ross's points?
I'll let you go, Tom.
Like I say, I'm not going to sit here and say, I've been a massive fan of Dessers. My group chat with a local Rangers club here in the Isle of Man, I slagged him to death. After that Celtic game, I was done with him. I was happy if he went, never see him again. But I think earlier in the season, there's always been something there that you can see. There's something coming out. He was working hard, just things weren't coming off for him. And when he signed for us, I read an article that said he'd had a bit of a serious knee injury, and the Rangers fans might not see the best of him until after the new year, and that's what we seem to be seeing. And I say Saturday was the first time I've seen him in the flesh, and I didn't realise how quick he was over that first 5-10 yards. He really was. Someone I think mentioned it in the comment that he was basically a whippet. But he was rapid. Second half, he left one of the Hearts defenders for dead. So he's definitely an asset for the rest of the season. The way he's going to be finishing on 25, 30 goals, I think. And there's not too many Rangers strikers that can say they've done that. So he will frustrate, he will miss chances, but he will be there for the next one, and the next one, and that's all you can ask.
Billy,
if I can come in, this is just like the duality of man kind of problem, because on one point I agree with Ross, we need to give him more time. But does he pass the smell test of a Rangers striker, like a top class Rangers striker? Well, his numbers actually probably won't be far away from it, but I've just got a feeling he's not a main striker anyway. I certainly think we more than likely will keep hold of him in the summer, and they more than likely will get a good few goals next season. But I do hope we bring in someone of just a better quality than him.
I would probably agree with that. I think if we can get our money back for him, considering his age and stuff, and the new player trading model we've got in place at Rangers, I think it's a no-brainer. If there's interest and we can recoup the fee, I think £4.5 million could be better spent. Before we go into Ross's trivia question, my other favourite goal of the day was Fabio Silva's. I've got one more wee thing to show everybody, and it's John Lundstram's heat map.
I agree with that.
That no pass for Fabio Silva's goal is probably that's up there with his goal against Leipzig in the semi-final. For me, anyway, like that's how good I rate that no-look pass. I cannot believe that John Lundstram is playing that well, that he's dishing out no-look passes against the third best team in the league. I can't get rid of it. Tom,
Scott, I've been doing no-look passes with my dog ever since, just out in the garden, just doing passes with her.
Tom, I'll come to you on it first. What did you make it?
Yeah, it was brilliant. He's been fantastic pretty much since Kilmarnock came in. I don't know what the change has been, whether he's now got just a defined position in the midfield. I don't know what it is. I mean, when he came to us, I read a few Sheffield United forums, and they seem to say in the last year he pretty much down tools because he wanted to move. Well, he's got a few months left on his contract, and he's certainly playing like someone who wants to stay. So if he keeps playing like that, say the pass was brilliant. Great run from Silva, great pass and great finish. But he's playing at, I'll be honest, he's playing at a level that I didn't think he'd get back to. That season, when we got to the Europa League final, he was brilliant, and I didn't think he'd get back to that. But if he's not back to it, he's close to it. And along with Butland, Tav and Goldson, he's someone that will be starting pretty much every game, I would imagine. He's not one of these players that are going to be rotated.
Billy, that's brought me on to my next point quite nicely, actually, about him being one of the core members of the team now, first in the team sheet every week. Do you think that we give him a good contract, or do you think that we try and keep him on the same wages or less? Because he's I think he might be 29, 30 now. I'm not sure his age. I can't confirm it, but I know he is in that region. This is going to be his last sort of big contract. How would you be sitting down and kind of getting around a negotiating table with him? Would you give him what he's worth, or would you try and get him down?
I personally think you need that experience in the team. You can't just have a load of young people, young players. You need to have that experience around them. So unless there's someone better out there, then my opinion is we give him a fair deal and what he's asking for. We've lost players in the past because we've penny pinched, or we haven't given them, what they deserved. But I think Lundstram is pivotal for us, and if there's no one better out there, I don't see how we can't keep him.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to what Clement thinks himself. Does he think he can get a better player for those wages? I think I said at the post-match pod, he'll have offers elsewhere of wages at least comparable to what he's on. So I don't think there's really going to be an option. If we want to keep him, and if Clement does want to keep him, we're going to have to pay him probably at least what he's on, if not a bit more. For me, it's down to he's playing fantastic since Clement's come in, and he played fantastic in that run in Europa League. Has he done it elsewhere? Maybe it's just this not having a rigid two in the middle that we're not kind of going with anymore, and he's got more license to kind of be a bit freer in that role, but also has got another player ahead of him more than what he would have done before, rather than having to pass it sideways. He's making more forward passes, in my opinion. But it's going to come down to Clement and what he thinks, and between him and the sporting director, to see what they think else is out there. And I do agree with Tomo that, you know, that core of, I mean, Butland's an experienced player, Goldson's obviously an experienced player. Having Lundstram there as well, we've got a good spine of experienced players that will be here next season.
Ross, John Lundstram has become the tone setter in the middle of the park. The way he's harrying players around about him, he's setting the tempo, he's playing the ball really, really quickly. I think he's possibly the biggest tool that Clement's got in terms of how we want to play. Do you think that's fair to say?
I mean, I wouldn't call him a tool to his face. He's scousing 6'1", but you know what I mean. No, look, the guy is. How long have we got? I mean, I think the guy has been phenomenal. I just want to put this out here on record. You can clip this. He's going nowhere. He will sign that contract and he'll be here next season. I would put my house on it. His versatility in receiving the ball on his right foot and his left foot. He's extremely agile. I think he's quicker than people probably think as well. And I think the fact that Clement plays him game in, game out already shows how much he means to the team and to Clement. If I was Phil Clement now and you ask about his age and stuff, the guy doesn't seem like he's slowing down at all. I think he's getting fitter and fitter and leading the team by example. He reminds me of an Ian Ferguson of the past, you know, steel in midfield, always trying to move the ball forwards, seems to give confidence to those around him. He's always asking for the ball. He's always making space and making an option. He takes it on one foot. He sometimes plays the long pass. He can play the short pass. There's no one in that Rangers squad currently who can do that job. Now, that's not to say in years to come, if Diamande wants to sit back a little further and play that type of role, then he can. But Lundstram, for me, is absolutely critical to the way we start our progressive attacks. You know, he's always willing to take the ball off the defenders, which not a lot of players do. As I say, he's happy to take the ball with players around him. He knows the club. He's been to the Europa League final. He's been and played in big games for us. That's the experience that you build a team around. You bring the youth in to supplement experience like that. Mark my words, the guy's going nowhere. He's a great player, and he's critical to the way we play. Ross,
can I come in and ask you, do you think overall, though, in his time here, he deserves another contract?
I would say yes.
Yeah.
I think I think even in games when he hasn't necessarily played well, and there has been some where I remember one he gave the ball away. I can't remember who it was against, but he gave the ball away and he didn't, and he sort of just stopped, and everyone kicked off, and it went a bit viral and stuff. I can't remember who we were playing against. And look, I think I was very frustrated as well. Does that mean he's not the right player to take Rangers forward to the next stage, to be a continuously dominant force in the SPFL? No, I think the guy is. I think he is. And I would argue that there's not a better, I know for a fact there's not a better sort of sitting midfielder in the league. No way. There's no one that could do that job the way he does it. And I dare say there's a lot of teams in England that could do with a player like John Lundstram in that position. You see the value of players like a Caicedo, like an Enzo Fernandez, and how highly rated they are in terms of the value of them and what they bring to the club. Well, he's our version of that. So we need to hold on to him. And I think we need to pay the money and keep the guy on board. As I say, it's not just his defensive work rate and breaking up play, which he does so well. He gets around that midfield area. He's got some engine on him. It's the way he progresses the ball forward. You know, he's testament to those little triangles. I can guarantee if you watch any of the good sort of triangles that we play in centre midfield or moving forward, Lundstram will have sort of kicked that off and be testament into that. So, yeah, I hear your point, and I think there's been games that he's had poor games, but for me, I think he's so critical, and it's, as I said before, Clement's playing him week in, week out. The guy's going nowhere for sure.
Ross, do you want to give the comments your trivia question?
Yeah, for sure. Right. Please, no Googling on this one. So I'll know if you're Googling because you'll get it right. So the question is, there are 3 Rangers players or past Rangers players who have won the World Cup. Name all 3.
Right, here we go. 3 Rangers players to have won the World Cup, with to name all 3. So I'll leave that with the comments just now, and we will move on to Kilmarnock. So, Killie and the Killie Pies. Right, so thanks, Bob, for doing some work for me today when getting these slides up. There's obviously just some stats for anybody that's on Spotify. It's just some small stats about recent form. They won 3 of the last 5 games. They're on 2, scoring 7, conceding 2, with clean sheets against Livingston, Cove Rangers and Aberdeen. Rangers have obviously won the last 5 games, scoring 15, conceding 2, with clean sheets coming against Ayr United, St Johnstone and Hearts. Rangers have played Kilmarnock twice this season. 1-0 defeat in the opening day of the season, which we don't want to speak about, and a 3-1 win at home to Kilmarnock in January. So their key players, the ones to watch out for, are Marley Watkins, Danny Armstrong and Kyle Vassell. They've all got 5 goals each. They've got a young boy, David Watson, in the middle of the park. For 14 home games, Kilmarnock have won 8 of them. They've got a really, really good record against the Old Firm this season. Ross, what type of challenge are we facing on Wednesday night?
A very robust one. I think McInnes has got them playing very, very well, and I think his recruitment's been superb. I think come the end of that January window, I think they were the one team that you kind of thought, okay, they're taking this very seriously. Then, they've got Van Veen in now, who's proven in the league. The lad Armstrong's a top quality player. I think he's probably, 6 to 12 months away from getting a decent move away from Killie. And the lad Watson as well. They've got youth coming through as well. So look, it's going to be a really stern test. I think you only have to look at the points they've taken off the Old Firm this year to know that they're a force to be reckoned with, and they know how to set up against us. So a real challenge ahead of us. I think certainly more than what we had against Hearts the weekend.
Do you want to take that point, Ross? Can I ask either Tom or Billy something?
Yeah, sure. So lads, let's take ourselves back to the first game of the season. And Killie took points off us. Do you think that this is the same kind of Killie team, that they're going to set up the same to try and hit us on the counter? Or do you think they've got enough wind on their sails now, having taken points off Celtic, to actually come at us a bit? And then I guess the second point of that question is, do you think that suits us? Or do you think we want to be dominating possession and trying to dictate play? Tom, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, it's a good question, Ross. I think they've got a certain way of playing, but I do think their position in the league, which probably nobody expected, may see them being a little bit more open. I caught a bit of a game when they when they took points. Sorry, when they against Celtic the other week, and they were a lot more open. When they drew 1-1 at Celtic Park, and they could have won that game. And I've not seen Kilmarnock do something like that at Ibrox. So it does suggest to me they are maybe a little bit more attacking. And the boy Armstrong, I think, is a cracking player. His work rate, he's tenacious. To me, he's a danger man. But they like getting the ball up to Big Vassell up front and players work off him. But I don't think they'll come out gung ho or anything like that. I think they'll have a set way of playing. But I do think it might be a little bit more of an open game than what a lot of people are thinking, just because of their league position, and they can maybe go and have that little goal without the fear of, we're in a relegation battle, every point's a prisoner,
Mm-hmm. Billy, just on that then, and taking what Tomo's said on board, do you reckon Clement will be saying to the lads, keep it firm for 15-20 minutes, let the game play out, and then we start to enforce ourselves, commit more men forward and try and get that goal? Or do you think he'll do what we've done against Hearts and say, I want you going out from the start, get that first goal within the first 5 minutes, and then let them come at you, and we'll get the second, third, and wrap the game up?
I think the sensible option would be option one. So he might go for that because he's a sensible man. I hope, though, that we do option 2, and that's if we can start like we did against Hearts, I think they could be a goal down pretty quick, and they could be more than a goal down in the first half hour if we play as good as we did. The pitch is going to be a deciding, or not deciding, but it's going to be a contributing factor to it. But I hope we do option 2, and I hope we take the game to them, because we were gutless in the first game, and I know it's a different team, different manager. We didn't even start with our supposed best player in that game. We're going to start with the team that Clermont thinks is going to win. There's not going to be any holding back from that kind of side of things. So I hope we go with option 2, Ross.
Yeah. I tend to agree with that. I think we've proven that we can get that early goal, and we've proven that we can see teams off, which is something that we've not seen for a good while with the past few managers, or Beale at least. You know, we certainly weren't keeping the foot on the throat and making sure that game was done and dusted by half time. Scotty, I'll just pose one to you before I pass back to you.
Mm-hmm.
We've touched on the St Johnstone pitch. We've touched on a few other pitches. Do you think that is something that Clermont will be taking into consideration when he's picking his team? Or do you think he'll be confident with the players that we've got, and potentially the team that we had against Hearts out, to get the job done, given that it's a tricky surface?
I think you'll see in my team lineup prediction, Ross, that I've put a very, very physical side together for tomorrow night, because I think that's the biggest challenge that we've got. I think we need to play the most physical team that we possibly can, and John Sterling's a big, massive part of that for me. In terms of pitches, it's a surface that, as professional football players, they should be able to deal with. But I mean, we're in the SPFL Premiership. We're in the top league in Scotland. These pitches should be a thing of the past, in my opinion, mate.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair comment. Seeing some of the comments coming through, don't think Lawrence will play on that pitch. Maybe a few other players who are kind of being eased back into kind of the rotational system again. So I guess that leads us on to your lineup then, Scotty.
I'm going to hand over to Billy first, though. Billy, have you got any kind of topics about Kilmarnock that you want to ask a panel?
I guess to be honest, mate, we've probably covered the main things we would be worried about: the pitch, the setup that they're going to play. I suspect. I mean, do you Tom has already said he thinks it might be more open than what we thought. But Ross and Scott, do you think they'll play open or play particularly open?
No, I think they're going to be camped in, but they're going to press as high, if that makes any sense. I think they're going to be playing a low block. I think his performance is going to be. He's going to set his team up to be a wee bit unbalanced, and that's where we're going to get in behind. I think his defence is really, really well drilled. Derek McInnes and Lewis Mayo is at the heart of that. Stuart Finley's an experienced player. It's up in the slides just now. But I think he's pressed Celtic, he pressed Rangers in the first game of the season. I think that's his style. And Celtic leave themselves exposed to the counter-attack with playing one or two centre-backs. Rangers have been caught out this season with it, but I don't think it's going to cause us any major issues tomorrow night, to be honest with you, Billy.
Just on that, Billy, I think he will go hell for leather. I think Clermont's going to go big guns. I would be surprised if we don't go out with a very similar team to what we played against Hearts. I think he's going to go for it. I think he really will have liked what he'd seen, closing the game off early, get it done, get it boxed off, get rotation, get the players on and minutes in their legs. I think he's going to go for it.
I think also the goal we lost was an individual error, really, from the previous game. They didn't look like scoring outside that either, from what I remember. But I'm thinking that the game I did watch them at home was against Celtic recently, and they really just let Celtic have the ball for the first half, hoping to keep it, low scoring, and then they went for them. They look like a different team in the second half, so they've got that in the locker to be an attacking threat, but I don't see them starting like that.
Fair enough point. Tom, have you got anything you want to ask any of the boys or myself?
I suppose just with Kilmarnock, heard Neil Warnock at the weekend saying the biggest difference between them was the physicality of it all, which coming from an Aberdeen team is, bit strange to hear. They're not amiss to sticking the foot in. So, do you think they're going to be really physical against us? Because as I say, we've got some cracking players, but do you think the physicality will be what's going to come into it? The midfield battle really is that's where it's going to be won and lost. What do you think?
Who's that to, Tomo? Who do you want
Well,
to
can I let me come in first of all then, because there's one shot after Silva scores and he goes behind the goal and you see the camera behind him. He's a big guy. He's got big shoulders. I don't think we're quite as unphysical, if that's the right term, as we maybe think we are. We've got strong players. Dessers is no weakling either. So we've got players that can go against that back line and give a good physical performance, as well as, the other like Sterling is the other obvious one as a big player. Lundstram's no slouch. Goldson and Suter, if that's who is starting, although obviously could be Balogun coming back in. Yilmaz might be what you consider your weakest link, but he didn't get beaten in any high balls at the weekend. I remember he was out jumping everybody.
I mean, I can't remember the last time Yilmaz was beaten there. To be honest,
I can. It was that one Shankland goal.
That was a while ago though, and didn't come to anything good. But yeah, I think it will be a physical game, and like you say, we've got players that can handle themselves now. And this is to be honest, out of the two games, Hearts and Kilmarnock, this is the one where I wouldn't say worried about, but I could see us having a bit more of a struggle. I thought we'd beat Hearts, no worries there, but Kilmarnock on their own patch, especially if you get a goal up, it's they're hard to break down. So I think we do need to start off quickly and try and get the game. Take the game to them and get it killed off as quickly as possible, really.
I'll just jump in on that, and I'll just refer to my dad texted me. So shout out to my dad, Gordon, if you're listening. He said one area that's been overlooked is Clement's comments when he arrived about food, lifestyle, etc., plus the amount of injuries he had noticed and the sort of root cause of those. So I just thought it would be worth maybe raising that now, given we're talking about physicality, about players' engines and the sort of minutes we're getting out of them. Do you think that's something that we're starting to see flow through into real-time games now? Are we seeing that nature, the sort of continuous press, the firm in the challenge, the physical nature of the players, that they look stronger, they look fitter, they look hungrier for it? Scotty, I'll just pose that one to you.
Aye, definitely. The difference in this team is night and day in terms of fitness and stuff like that. And see the knowledge of everybody having their own personal fitness plan as well. I mean, you just look at Tom Lawrence, we look as if he's, I'm touching wood when I say this here, we look as if we're finally seeing him on a kind of prolonged period of time on a pitch. I noticed today was Rangers played Kemar Roof in the B team game. I don't want to get into it as a subject, but what Rangers B Academy actually tweeted out was it was a pre-planned sub when they brought him off. So to me, that's Rangers kind of covering all bases, because if you know what a comment section on Twitter would have been like when they seen Roof had went off. So the fact that that's pre-planned and comments even trying to get Kemar Roof in some sort of flow, if you want to call it that, Ross, I think the difference is night and day. And the fitness, the teamwork, the team ethic between, I mean, you only need to look at John Lundstram and you need to look at Ridvan Yilmaz, how much they've improved under the current manager. Cyriel Dessers, he's waved a magic wand with Dessers as well. He looks so much better than what he did at the beginning of the season. Yeah. But the improvements are all throughout the team. I mean, he's gave young Ross McCausland a run of matches as well, and that's something I really hope I see going forward. Yeah. I think we're on the up with this manager because he's the first proper manager we've had since the late great Walter Smith.
Yeah, and I think I heard someone call him, I won't use his name, I think it was a Mr. Stewart on Sports Scene BBC podcast this morning, and he called him a statesman-like, and I thought that was a really good term, respected. You wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him. He sort of demands respect, but I think he follows through with his commitments. I don't think he's someone that's just sort of, to use a term, all fart, no poo. I think he actually comes through with what he's actually wanting to do. And I think we're seeing the evidence of that on the pitch. Tomo, a question that popped into my head there when we're talking about the lineups against Killy. One thing we haven't even talked about at all, or even nodded towards, is our centre-back pairing. Do you think we're starting to see the fruits of a developing relationship between those two? That they understand that Goldson now is probably the one who sits a little deeper. Suter's the one who comes out with the ball and addresses play first up and allows Goldson that more of a sort of defensive stability behind him. Lincoln playing into Lundstram. Do you think we're starting to see that partnership grow a bit more?
Yeah, most definitely, Ross. I've said it to you boys before. Championship winning teams are built on their defence, and you look at all the great championship winning teams. They've had two centre backs and a goalkeeper who pretty much play all the time and know each other's games inside out. Having Butland behind them is obviously a reassurance for them. But you can see the relationship growing between Goldson and Suter every game. I mean, that just flows through the team. The attackers can then get on with what they need to do without worrying something's going to happen behind them. The back door's locked. So I've always liked Suter as a player, even when he was at Hearts, and it was just unfortunate with injuries. And as I say, touch wood, hopefully he's over that now. And you go back to Clement and the injury side of things, the way he's managing the players, the likes of Ryan Jack, he knows at this moment in time he can't play 2 games a week. So bring him in, play him, and then give him time off to get sorted again. I just think, Ross, just to touch on your point about Clement and demanding respect, I think he showed that to the squad very early on when we played against Limassol. And he took Cantwell off after 35 minutes because Cantwell wasn't following instructions. Right there, he put his stamp down saying, if you don't listen to what I'm saying, I don't care who you are, you're not playing. And fair play to Cantwell. Cantwell could have sulked about it, got onto his agent, get me a new club in January, but came back, got in the team and showed what he's worth. So I think that's a good point you make about Clement.
Yeah. And just on that, when I was driving down to London this morning, when I pulled in at the service station, I'd been listening to the podcast and I made a note in my notes of what Clement had said in his post-match interview. And he says, I want a team without ego. And I thought, do you know what? That is so true. And the way you see the team play at the minute. Billy, have you got any thoughts on the centre-backs and how they're getting on? Do you think we're still in the market for another centre-back in the summer?
Yeah, I think, will Balogun still be here next season? But he's not contracted, I don't believe, to next season. I don't know if we'll maybe look for a younger replacement. I did. That's not my team, I think, on the screen just now. I'm sure I did pick Balogun purely because the amount of changes that Clement kind of makes the rotations in these kind of positions. But I would rather have Suter there alongside him. I just suspect he might play Balogun on Wednesday. Again, I lost my train of thought. Sorry, Ross. But I mean, I think I heard the comments that he said. That he also was talking about if players were getting ahead of themselves and thinking that they'd won before they had, then they wouldn't play either. So you've got to respect that, because if you're going to drop your best players because their head's not quite where you want, then I think that's a good thing.
And I've had another comment from Craig Burrows, one of the North Yorkshire Loyal. Shout out to the North Yorkshire Loyal lads. Don't underestimate that they all look like they get on and love playing for Rangers. That hasn't been a given for a number of seasons. So I think that's a very true comment, and probably something that Clement has drilled into them. Scotty, over to you.
Right, so we've all sent our teams in. As is my team, it's quite hard to see because I've yet to figure out how I can make it bigger on screen. So this is by the WATP app. We are the people. Go and give it a follow on Facebook, Twitter, etc. Give the site a visit. Some good content. So I've went for Butland, Tavernier, Goldson, Suter, Barisic, and then I've went for Sterling and Lundstram in the Midley Park. Then I've went for McCausland, Fabio Silva in the 10, and Cortez. Then up top I've went for Cyriel Dessers. Anybody want to ask me any questions?
Do you think he would start Silva and Dessers in the starting lineup? That's all.
I think because of Silva's cameo in the 10 yesterday, Cantwell's injured, and Campbell's injured, and
You don't think Lawrence will play?
Lawrence is still getting managed, so I think Silva will play in there. I think that's why we've seen him. You says to me in your first ever pod, Billy, you wanted them two to play together.
No, I do. I do. I just don't know if he will. And I also think maybe why he took Lawrence off was for this game more than. But, I know he's been managed, whatever. But I don't see any reason why. Surely they must train on AstroTurf during the weeks, especially if it's bad weather or whatever. So he will be used to playing on it to some degree.
Aldo says in the comments, Barisic in the plastic pitch. For me, yes, probably because Yilmaz is still unproven in a run of matches. I think that's fair to say. In terms of playing every 3 days, Yilmaz is yet to kind of do that on a consistent basis. So I think he'll be taken out, and it will be purely for the physicality aspect. To answer your point on Sterling, Billy, I think Sterling's needed in the Midley Park. I think tomorrow night having the double pivot is important. I still think Sterling offers you something going forward. Lundstram's still going to be setting the tone. Silva, if he's playing as a 9, plays as a 10 anyway. So I'm going purely for physicality more. Does anybody else want to come in?
Yeah, look, I really wanted to hate it, Scotty. I wanted to hate it and rip into it, but it makes sense. You've justified it quite well, I think. The only reason I'd swap Yilmaz in for Barisic, just purely because I think Yilmaz, his performance at the weekend deserves another start. You know, the lad was. I'd only play Barisic so maybe he rolls his ankle on the pitch or something. But no, I would play Yilmaz for sure. I think he was very strong. And I mentioned it before, him and Cortez down that left side. Whilst I agree with rotation to an extent, we need to start building little partnerships here and there. I think Lundstram's very versatile that he can play with a few players around him. So Sterling in there for me, no hesitation about that. But yeah, I'd be playing Yilmaz so him and Cortez can get that synergy over time. Silva and Dessers, the only worry then is if anyone does get injured on that pitch, we're slightly then hamstrung as to the options that we've got, albeit with Roof coming back, but you know, that's always with a pinch of salt. But no, I think if that team come out, you know, I wouldn't be too perturbed by it. I think it looks pretty strong. And Barisic might give you a bit more height from corners if that's what he's looking to do. It's
not so much my predicted lineup, but it's who I would probably line up considering the challenge we've got. The challenge we've got in Wednesday night is completely different to anything else we've kind of faced so far since the winter break. I'm going to bring up the next team. You don't need to tell me who this one is, boys. It's Butland Tavernier, Goldson Balogun. Looks like Balogun, Balogun, Yilmaz. Then they've got Lundstram and
Sterling,
Diamande on the 10, McCausland, Cortez and Dessers.
That's my one, Scott. That's my one.
Might tell us a wee bit about it. You're thinking behind it?
Yeah, as I say, with Lawrence coming back, like I touched on earlier with Ryan Jack, I don't think Clermont will be wanting to overplay players. Diamande has played in that role, albeit it was in the cup game against Ayr. I think it was when it was one of his earlier appearances for us. And I just think we're going to go for that sort of physicality with Sterling in the centre of midfield. Yilmaz deserves to keep his place. He's been playing brilliantly. Very different, obviously, to Barisic, but what he gives us on that left-hand side, being able to run with the ball, cut inside with it, it's just a massively different option. And I think Butland, Tav, Goldson and Suter pick themselves. The only one sort of is McCausland. I don't think he's done too much wrong. He done all right when he came on Saturday, and I think he'll get the nod outright again just for minutes. After today, we've got Motherwell at the weekend, and then no league game then for a couple of weeks. So I think we'll hopefully go for it on Wednesday. Then obviously Dessers up front. I know it's not a case of being dropped these days, but I wouldn't be in the habit of dropping a centre forward who's scoring goals and who had the performance that he did on Saturday. Out with his goals, I thought he was excellent the the whole time he was on the pitch, to be honest. So I think it would be very harsh if he doesn't start.
I'd probably say for me, Leon Balogun's a good swap, a straight swap for Suter. I think Balogun's experience could be pretty important tomorrow night. Does anybody get any thoughts on Tomo's team?
It's not like I can disagree with it. With nothing, everything you've said totally justifies it. But you're picking your team yourself, and then you look at somebody else's ideas and see their justification. You're like, oh yeah, I should have thought of that. I mean, there's a point earlier on about you making, Ross, that Sterling and Diomande, how they kind of cover each other. I mean, that might show out in my team, but I didn't mean it that way because I hadn't thought of that. But I'm going to use that as the reason why I picked them.
Ross, you get into saying Tomo's team?
I think you've justified it well, Tomo. I'm just watch Clermont tomorrow play Scott Wright and Ryan Jack.
I thought he might have brought Ryan Jack in and put Sterling on the wing. It's not out of question with Big Phil. Right, so Bill, this is your team here. You've got Butland, Tav, Goldson, Balogun, Yilmaz, Diamande, Lundstram, McCausland, Tom Lawrence, Oscar Cortez, and Fabio Silva.
Yeah, I think the Balogun, again, you've mentioned the experience. I really was thinking rotation because he wants to rotate. He seems to rotate that position. Although I have liked Suter. I liked the midfield at the weekend, Diamande and Lundstram. They were quite, they were commanding and forward thinking as well. And I thought I'd put Sterling in. I've changed it at the last minute and put McCausland. I thought Sterling was in there, but McCausland just as well for his pace. Not so much going backwards, which I'm now thinking that's maybe why Sterling would have been a better option. But that was my thinking at the time, that for his forward thinking, we need to go out on the attack from the beginning, and he would be good for that. And again, he just seems to swap. Silva seems to play the away. The away game certainly played at St Johnstone. So I thought he just probably would start Silva.
Enough. Anybody, any comments?
No, I think what this shows us, the three teams, obviously we've had different players in different positions, etc. But I think what it shows us is the strength that we actually have in the squad. You know, we're all picking these teams, and any of them could, we could be completely wrong. But it shows the depth that we have now. Players coming back from injury, and that's another massively important thing for the running. Having the players fit, and any one of those teams, I'd be happy seeing out on the pitch. Every player coming in is doing their job, and that's all you can ask.
Yeah,
and if they're not, they'll soon be off.
Yeah.
Ross, what's your team, mate?
I would just go with the same team that we started against Hearts. I think there was a clinical nature to us in that first half that we probably just haven't quite seen yet, the sharpness. So for me, I did go with that. As well, from a psychological point of view, if they see that we're putting the same team out, that we're 3-0 up against the third best team in Scotland, in the first half, it's almost a bit of a psychological boost before the game. So someone put in I think it was Hugo Bear put in the comments there, Diamande is used to playing on a plastic pitch. Of course, he is at Nordjylland. I think that's what they play on due to the climate out there. So I think he'll be more than comfortable in that area. And I think we'll see Sterling out on the right again. I think he's going to try and create a little. I'm going to be so wrong here, and you're all going to laugh when the team sheet comes out and he's got Ryan Jack in goal. But no, I think it'll be a level of consistency given the nature of the games that we've got coming up. I think he's trying different things, getting different players in, and they're supplementing it. But for me, if I was picking it, I would pick the same team as last time.
Hugo Bell in the comments agrees with you there, mate. Right, we will touch upon your trivia answer now. So what I'll do is I'll give you all the answers that I've started. You can correct whoever, right? So I'll go Stefan Kloss, obviously, with Borussia Dortmund.
So that would be Champions League, not World Cup.
There we go.
That's my next question, Naked. So cheers, guys.
Stefan Givers.
Correct, with France.
Then we've got Givers, Caniggia, Gattuso.
One of them's correct. I did think Caniggia had won it, but he hadn't. No, I think he probably got to the semi-finals. I know he played in the 1990 World Cup, and I think Argentina won it in '86. So I think it was just a bit late to the party. But Gattuso, correct. I think that was 2006. Arteta, no. I don't think he actually played that much for Spain, Arteta, really.
No, because they Xavi and Iniesta was getting
Busquets, you know that.
He was playing for Everton at the time.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
There's another interesting one, Lionel Charbonnier.
And Lionel Charbonnier was the third choice French keeper in France '98, so correct. So we got them. Guy Varche, Lionel Charbonnier, and Gennaro Gattuso. Well done, Sean Gray. You've Googled it, mate. Well done. You've played yourself.
Kai's come in. Basil Wally, was he one?
Basil Wally didn't win it, no. I think he maybe won the Champions League, or I think he got with Marseille. Got through.
He won it with Marseille, didn't he? Like?
Yeah.
That doesn't count, that one.
No, I know. Still waiting for the replay, aren't we?
Right, lads, predictions for Wednesday. Ross, come to you.
2-0 to Rangers.
Right, say your goodbyes while you're on as well, mate.
Yeah, 2-0 to Rangers. Thanks everyone for comments and getting involved with the trivia. It's great to come on and see loads of people commenting and chatting. Thanks to those that have messaged on my phone as well. So really appreciate it, lads. Let's look forward to the match. I know Kai's putting on some great stuff this week with a big guest interview on Thursday. So really looking forward to seeing that one.
Tomo, solid debut, mate. Well done.
Cheers, thanks, Scotty. Thanks for thanks for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And just echo what Ross said. Thanks to everyone that's tuning in. You know, share it with your friends, like and subscribe. A lot of hard work goes on behind the scenes, and you boys, you know, we all deserve reviews and the likes. Coming back to the game, as I say, I don't want to sound too smug, but I did say last week that it wouldn't surprise me if we put 4 or 5 past Hearts. I think this will be a tougher test. I'm going to go with a conservative 2-0. 2-0 win, I think. Goal in each half.
Is there a tough penalty in there? I love a tough penalty. Is there a tough penalty in there?
No, but I'm going to say a tough free kick. He's due one. He's due one. So yeah, 2-0, and then another 3 points in the bag.
Tom, what was your prediction, mate? And I'll let you say your goodbyes as well.
Do you mean me?
Oh, sorry, Billy.
Sorry, mate. No, great to be on again. Thanks, Ross. Thanks, Tomo. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everyone in the comments. I've turned them on this week, so I was able to follow along with what everybody was saying. So it was really good, and I really enjoyed it again. I predict a 3-0 first half. Very exciting, and then a very boring nothing each second half with it fizzling out, I'm afraid. But a really exciting first half with 3-0 as the final score.
Lastly, for me, I'm going to be Mr. Negative, and I'm going to say 1-0 Rangers. I think we're going to probably score in the last maybe quarter of the match. We're going to get back down the road with 3 points, and we're all going to be sitting relieved, because I am not the most optimistic guy when it comes to football, especially supporting Rangers. But listen, everybody, thank you for all coming on, boys. It's appreciated. It's been a good pod. Thank you for everybody for tuning in. This was brought to you in association with Manon Inverclyde. Again, anybody that's struggling with mental health, look it up and get in touch with the guys. They'll help you. And we're top of the league. Like I was rambling on, so I hit it by accident. Well, fucking done now, innit?
Aye.